When I tell you I needed days to collect my thoughts and calm the fuck down before I started to talk about this dumpster fire of a book, I mean it. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Gia. I'm a 28-year-old lady who still lives in my mom's basement. And today is the video I said I wasn't going to make, but the title was just too good. So for anybody that is new, Onyx Storm, the third book in the Fourth Wing series, was released on my birthday. I have said previously on multiple occasions that I thought that Fourth Wing was interesting, I thought it was fun, and I thought it was different because it was about dragons, not about vampires or fairies. So at the time when it came out, I thought that it was a breath of fresh air. But I have revisited a lot of my thoughts about Fourth Wing, and although it is silly, I also find it very dumb and stupid and poorly written, if I'm being completely honest with you. And for anybody who might be new or who might need a reminder, just as a blanket statement and as a reminder of who I am on this channel, I am fully aware of who Rebecca Yarros is, and I will do so far as to, in fact, call this book Zionist propaganda, because it is. What I do on this channel is to not spend money on books as little as possible. The amount of books that I read every year is a lot, and in my previous video I talked about how over the course of 2 years, subtracting my Kindle Unlimited and Audible subscriptions, I still saved over $700 through 92 books over 2 years. I don't buy books. I make a game out of not doing that because it is my way of being more fiscally responsible. It is a thing that I do that brings me joy in that my hobby feeds itself. I am also aware that using a library card or using Kindle Unlimited, I am also very aware when you are using a library book, you are signaling to the library that this book is in demand, whether it's you being one person who wants to read that book or 300, because I know for a fact that my library bought several copies of this book, hundreds, in fact. I think they bought over 300 copies of the audiobook alone. And I do understand that by using your library card, you are, once again, signaling to a library that a book is in demand and they are paying the author. But I am not paying the author. I am also in full support and completely unopposed to the idea of finding books another way. Now with that out of the way, a brief revisitation about my thoughts about the first two books. I thought that Fourth Wing was silly and fun and interesting, and upon looking back on it, the world building still doesn't make a lot of sense and the dialogue was juvenile, and the more I thought about it, the more that I realized that I was like, yeah, while this was a fun and enjoyable time, the book itself is not objectively good. So then I picked up Iron Flame and I absolutely hated it. I talked about how there are accusations against Rebecca Yarros for using AI in her books, and honestly, I don't think that that is an unfounded accusation. I have said that I think that Fourth Wing is divergent fan fiction, and honestly, I might just have to make a PowerPoint presentation on it. Iron Flame was dumb and stupid, and one of my main criticisms for the overarching issue of the plot of the book is that I didn't quite understand what Rebecca was doing when she was trying to combine a fantasy series and fantasy tropes and fantasy plot with some sudden sci-fi elements when it came to the wards around Basgaia. There are spoilers in here, by the way. And when I get to the Onyx Storm review part of this video, it is mostly just a rant review. It's mostly just me yelling because I have a very, very long document that I'm going to be reading to you. I have a lot of strong feelings about Onyx Storm and why I find it so terrible, but I actually managed to write notes this time. I remember saying that if Iron Flame had more of the fucking in a war camp type of romantasy element to it, I don't think that it would have been as bad as it was, because suddenly we have to talk about not just the magic involved with humans and their signets, but also dragons, and then the relationship between the two. It was giving a lot of fantastical elements, but then all of a sudden I had to give a fuck about wards surrounding a university and then the propaganda, the military propaganda. And I thought that maybe that could have been kind of interesting if we had more time spent in the library. I wish that some of these books would truly spend more time in libraries. I understand that to some people that must be fucking boring, poring over books and scrolls, but I wanted more of like the scribes and Jacinia. And if you're going to bring propaganda into a war story, you really need to dissect not only what the propaganda is, what its goal is, and what the propaganda is supposed to be accomplishing, besides the fact that the kingdom is lying to you and the war college is using you as a tool. But for what exact end, we don't exactly know. And then there's a secret enemy that we're just now finding out about that may or may not be myth. There is a lot of moving parts involved in using propaganda as a tool in a story. You need to know what the propaganda is for, what it's being used for. All we know, even up until this point, after 3 books, the only thing that we truly know about the Venin is that the entire thing that they want is just to gain more power, because when you pull magic and siphon it into you, it becomes an addictive substance and it becomes like a drug. So the Venin want to take over the Vale where all the dragons are at for more power, but then what's their goal after that? What are they going to do after that? Where's the next place they're going to target? What is their ultimate goal other than to just say, oh, they want more power? Is that it? And just to spoil it for you already, I did rate Onyx Storm 1 singular star. That 1 singular star being for the like 2 or 3 things that I found to be actually fucking interesting that went absolutely nowhere. And one more thing that I want to say. There are always going to be people who are going to read things that are written by bad people just because they want to read a fun story. I used to think that if you gave these authors and these stories zero attention, that people will eventually stop talking about it. But after reading articles about how Onyx Storm is taking over the charts, that is not true. That is something that I believe, that if I end up reading a book by somebody that I find out is a terrible person and is controversial and I liked the book, I don't talk about it. I don't publicly rate the book. But if I read a book by a bad person and the book is bad, I'm gonna tell you about it. Why? Because the book is objectively terrible, and subjectively you should not like it. And honestly, I just have to say that as a hater to my core, it has been really, really nice seeing the Goodreads average review for this book go down and down. Every day I am watching that bitch struggle to keep up with its predecessors. And honestly, good. I hope that it continues to plummet. Okay, so Rebecca Yarros released this book on my birthday. I had known that this book was going to be released on my birthday, and I was offended that she would so tarnish my special day with her terrible ass book and a terrible ass series. I listened to this book at 3x speed because there was no fucking way that I was going to listen to it any slower. And in fact, I wish that I could speed it up even further just to get it fucking over with. This audiobook had no reason to be over 25 hours long. If anything, I think if the narrator actually read it a little bit faster would have been better, because even at 3x speed, I was able to perfectly understand what was happening. And I was able to get most of the point across. There weren't many points. First and foremost, one of my initial chief complaints about this book is the same that I felt about the other two, is that there's too many fucking goddamn characters in this book, because every sentence we are hearing at least 2 names. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they came from. I don't know why they're important. I don't even remember all of them because I didn't need to. There was a lot of red shirts in this series, just people that were introduced only to get killed a page later because Rebecca Yarros refuses to kill off any of her important characters because everybody hated her for what she did with Liam. So often, Xaden and Violet are asked about their allegiances only for them to restate that they will fight for each other first before anybody else. It's really giving the, is this allowed? Vine, when they're asking Xaden and Violet, oh, who do you fight for? I fight for Violet Sorengale before anybody else. Okay, who the fuck asked? What is so disorienting about this writing is that it reads like someone who is analyzing a film frame by frame, and you get lost in that narrative. There's actually nothing happening in this conversation, but during this conversation that I've made up, I'm just trying to say this to prove a point, we know that somebody is unwrapping a chocolate bar, someone else is tapping the table, another is braiding their hair, then the person with the chocolate bar is talking with their mouth full. Violet gets distracted by the chocolate smudge on their cheek. And then what was the conversation about again? It's like everybody is sitting in a giant circle. What I can imagine is like that scene in Camp Rock where everybody's like leaning on all the picnic tables and they're all talking to each other. They're all trying to have a conversation about what the fuck is happening. Like the plot. They're trying to have a plot conversation, but the perspective of the reader is too focused on looking at everybody individually and looking at exactly what they're doing in that moment in time, because it's trying to immerse you in the scene. Once that is all said and done, and you really try to zero in on what the conversation was about, there is no conversation to be had. You're just in a room full of people who are just simply hanging out. The best way I can describe this book is Frat House Must Save the World, because all of the men can be described as generic frat bro, and the women, there's nothing to say because nobody has a personality. I cannot tell you one feature about these people except that I think that Imogen is loosely an alt goth girl, and Kat is Kat because she has an English accent. This next bit is criticizing a part of the book that I actually liked. It happened towards the end of the book, but it's when Violet and Xaden in the frat house are visiting Xaden's stepdad, the colonizers and the eugenicists, Xaden's stepdad, and we find out that Xaden's mom is alive. There was the scene where the frat house is poisoned, but then Violet is like, ha, I poisoned you first. I am so very tired of writers taking the easy way out when it comes to writing girl boss, slay, girly pop leads. The whole, you thought you could poison us? Too bad I did it first idea is iconic actually, but it immediately went up in flames because I realized that nothing leading up up to this moment led us to the realization that Violet was suspicious enough to pre-poison the poisoners. Instead, it was just revealed as this gotcha bitch moment that once again gives Violet the smartest bitch alive award. If you want me to believe that your characters are suspicious, cunning, and above all pragmatic bitches with a plan and a backup plan, you need to show me that instead of giving it to me in a reveal. I don't want my pragmatic girl boss characters to flash their one-trick pony asses on a whim. I want to see it clearly that there's plans in place, thinking established, research done. Oh my god, visit a fucking library. Instead of feeling like the entire narrative is flying by the seat of our flight leathers. I hate the way that Rebecca Yarros writes conflict because it is completely discernible from the rest of her writing. I can barely register that conflict is happening in the first place because I'm not hearing like that change in tone, that metaphorical boss room music that the second the big bads come on page that, oh no, shit's happening, shit's changed. Honestly, it reminds me of when my boyfriend and I are playing It Takes Two and we get into this like big ass room with no obstacles and high walls and the camera angle changes and we go, is this a boss arena? Most of the conflicts in this book are nothing burgers, where nothing happens, nobody dies, and nobody gets hurt, which is weird considering that Yarros has spent up to this point constantly introducing characters that she immediately kills off. The big bads are coming on page to make threats and point their fingers and flash their powers and make lightning happen, but then nothing actually happens. They're just like yelling at each other from across a field. The fight dialogue is always the same. It's always Violet yelling no or move, and Darna's being concerned and trying to make sure nothing bad happens to them, and then Taryn is roaring and yelling silver one. God for fucking bid, something happens to someone in Violet's eyesight because she always does the same no, no, no. Every single time. That is her immediate, like she saw something bad happen. Her immediate response is to do the no, no, no. And I swear, if I ever hear the sentence, well fucking aware, it will be too soon. I am so tired of hearing that sentence because we get it, you guys cuss. The conflict is actually very annoying because Yarros writes like this is supposed to be very serious. We're supposed to be interested suddenly in the fact that this new big bad venom has silver hair like Violet. Suddenly people have silver hair, so we're being told quietly that Violet probably will have a secret identity reveal or something similar. I'm supposed to care that this villain has silver hair, but I cannot for the life of me give a fuck when the fights are over in a microsecond and there's no consequences. Reminds me of the tone problem that Lindsay Ellis points out in the Hercules Disney movie, bouncing back and forth to everything's fine to danger to everything's fine, and the bad guys are always escaping, shaking their fist. It was actually interesting in the beginning to see that the venom had infiltrated Bazgaev, but nothing interesting happened with it. I think, outside of this book being literal Zionist propaganda, that my strongest criticism I can give about the plot of this book is the fact that it would have been actually interesting to see the venom infiltrating Bazgaev, and we're kind of doing an espionage, double agent, that kind of thing. If we had that, because at the end of book 2, I don't think I need to remind you, Xaden becomes a venom, and it becomes a point in this entire book about how Xaden is slowly turning bad, but he's not really doing bad things or like saying bad things. He gets angry a lot, and he like clenches his fist, and Violet is just holding his face, and he like, no Xaden, look at me, no Xaden, look at me, this isn't you. Bitch, shut up. A lot of plot points here are introduced and then absolutely nothing happens with it. Introduction, discussion, no consequence. Just move on to the next plot beat. Nothing is fully fleshed out, nothing is fully discussed, and the conclusions don't stick. Once again, I think the people who accused Yarros of using AI to write her books may be onto something because the entire book reads like it. Like, another thing that we're so focused on is the fact that we're supposed to be following these breadcrumbs that Violet, Mira, and Brennan's dad left behind. They were supposed to be reading his diary and reading his journal. And the big reason why Violet has silver hair is because she was supposed to be given to like this temple. I don't know. It was like a temple where she was supposed to be a priestess of some kind. So, and how that's connected to the venom, I have no idea, but she was supposed to be given to like the priestesses, and I don't legitimately know where that was supposed to be going, because up until this point there's been so little described about any sort of religion besides the fact that they use gods. They say, oh my gods, and they say their souls are condemned to Malak, so we know that there's like a death god, but any other sort of religious anything we have never heard up until this point, up until the fact that we're supposed to accept that Violet was supposed to become like a temple priestess, and this is somehow related to the Venin. So there's like religious extremism. You're not beating the Zionist propaganda accusations, Rebecca. It only gets worse. One thing that crossed my mind, and I cannot believe I remembered this nor cared this much, but in Iron Flame, Violet was so up in arms about Liam's death and being so upset about it and being so adamant that she protect his sister, and so much of that book was focused on their growing friendship and how Sloane grew to forgive Violet, only for Onyx Storm to come out, and I'm wondering where Sloane is. In fact, she does not even get mentioned until the 50% mark, because that was when I realized, I said I was sitting there about 45% going, you know, I haven't really heard anything about Sloane. And then at about 50%, you hear her name, and that's it. And it's just a throwaway line. She's just, oh yeah, Sloane is still here. Well, where is she? So much was built up about this one friendship in Iron Flame, only for it to immediately not matter. And also, Rhiannon was also sidelined. I would have actually enjoyed it if Rhiannon was more involved in this story and she was actually important, but because she was promoted to leadership, she's nowhere to be found. But Dane is here? Dane. Why is he here exactly, other than the fact that he's supposedly like fluent in another language? He's supposed to be leadership. Why is he here? Is he here to be an agent of his father? Is he here to keep an eye on the operation? Is he here to be a mole? Why is he here? Are you trying to tease a like return of the love triangle? Is Dane going to try to make a return? Like, what's happening? Why is he here, but Rhiannon is not here, but Dane has more leadership than Rhiannon does? Where is the actual best friend? Another thing is that I fear that this book series does not pass a Bechdel test, because the only reason that another woman comes on the page is to talk about either Xaden, the fact that Kat used to date Xaden, and that there's jealousy there. And I think that moving Rhiannon into the story as a whole would not have really changed that, but it would have at least given more of a reasonableness to talking Violet down from the I must defend Xaden at all costs thing, because that responsibility is given more to like the other frat bros who are just like, what does Xaden have to do to make you realize that he's too far gone? What does he have to do in order to be pushed too far for your tastes? Whereas we could have had Rhiannon being the reasonable one this entire time, being like, well, you know, he did like do this bad thing, and he did do like this bad thing. And the guys, the frat bros, are leaving it all up to Violet to decide when she's to be done with Xaden. There's no like worm in her brain that's telling her, hey, Xaden's doing like XYZ bad thing, like maybe like this is affecting him more than it should. There's no reasoning in her brain that's like happening during this entire thing. It's just, I have to protect him from going evil, and you know, this isn't you, look at me, I know that this isn't you. Where is the discussion? Where's the internal dialogue that is supposed to be happening in your skull when you're looking at a person who is supposedly transforming into someone that you no longer recognize, and you have to grapple with those feelings of, oh, something is happening here. How do I fix it? No, instead it's, I have to stop him. I have to stop this from happening. But when you don't know what he's capable of or what's happening inside his brain, how are you supposed to accomplish that? I also just have one sentence in here that talks about how cringe Xaden and Violet are, because they're very cringe, and I can't stand them. This is at about the point where I started to rant about this being Zionist propaganda, because Xaden is very clearly BIPOC, and we know this. It has been discussed at length, and we find out that his mother married into the colonizers and abandoned Xaden, basically treating him as like oh, I left your father because the only thing I had to do was give him a child, and then I left to whatever. So she full out left her child, abandoned her child to go be with the colonizers, who are prizing their knowledge over everybody else, that they are superior. So they are colonizers and eugenicists. Got it. Basgiath is known for hiding information from its people, censoring information, lying to them about the existence of people other than them, systematically locking the Flyers and the Griffins out of their protections, because although they are very similar to each other, there is something that they very specifically differ on that they just don't agree with. And I gotta be honest, when I Google it, even Reddit doesn't seem to understand the difference and why they hate each other, other than the fact that they're not from the same area. They're Navarians and Paromish. Like, is that the main thing? And I don't think that it is a very large jump in logic to make the claim that it is very clear that Rebecca Yarros is writing Basgiath to be an allegory for Israel, talking about how Xaden's father and the other rebellion leaders, they rebelled against Basgiath and they were executed, and Xaden is very clearly BIPOC, and his mother is BIPOC, and she left and married a colonizer. And you see where this is going. you do see where this is going, right? The lies, the military propaganda, talking about having a monarchy, the sudden link that Violet was supposedly about to be given to the priestesses. So there's an introduction of religious extremism, but it's unclear how this is connected to the Venom at this point, whether religious extremism causes people to siphon power. And that allegory, plain as day. I will be so real when I say that I don't know who is on this mission, that Violet was so specific to say who should or could go, but during the entire Frat House Saves the World mission, I could not remember a single person besides Xaden, Violet, Dane, and Imogen was there, and Rhydock, I don't remember anybody else. And then a kitten named Broccoli, who was a cute, I guess, because, it's something that you don't want, but you have to have any. I don't know, like the whole line about broccoli and why they named the cat Broccoli was, I guess, kind of cute, but it went nowhere. Like, we had this introduction of a kitten and it went nowhere. Where's the kitten during all the dragon fighting and the venom? And where's the kitten? Where did you put the kitten, Rebecca? The entire book. I mean, the entire fucking book. We are supposed to keep Xaden's secret that he is a Venom, but at absolutely no point, literally ever, does his identity feel threatened. He gets his royal status reinstated. He becomes a professor at the college. He doesn't ever really struggle with his power besides Violet being like, look at me, it's okay, I'm here. And at literally no point are we ever afraid that Xaden will get exposed, nor do we know what those consequences are like. It's just like, we have to keep his secret. Why? Because they'll kill him. That's it, because they'll kill him. And Violet doesn't want that because that's her soulmate or whatever the fuck. You know what could have been interesting? The Venom take over Basgiath, and yes, Xaden has to keep his identity a secret, let his royal status get reinstated, let him get promoted, but as a double agent, let the group remain behind enemy lines for the entire book instead of going on a spring break trip across the continent. And now that I think about it, that's another goddamn thing, because when they visit the colonizers, Xaden's stepdad, when they meet them, they have to constantly correct themselves from not calling the continent. They have to call it by a different name. They have to call it by like a cultural name. Tapping the sign. I'm tapping the sign. They want to know where Andarna's family comes from. So spend time in a fucking library. I am so tired because the book is full of so much talking, but never enough doing. And there are too many characters who aren't rememberable. Nothing ever happens that is meaningful. The main relationship is cringe and stupid. And there are no side ships. You know what I expected in this book? Dane to get a girlfriend. If we're not going to reintroduce the love triangle, we could maybe give Dane a girlfriend, even though he sucks. Maybe, are we going to, prop him up in any way or redeem him in any way? Give him a girlfriend? No, he's just fucking there as Violet's ex-situationship. And then her ex-boyfriend, who's a prince, comes into the picture just to make Xaden jealous. Where's that going? That could have been a love triangle. That could have been, a revisitation of exes to lovers with the prince whose name I can't remember and Violet. But no, he's just there to flirt with Violet a little bit just to make Xaden jealous and to his powers flare up a little bit. And then Violet has to once again hold his face and go, look at me, it's okay, this isn't you. We had the grand reveal of gays in this universe, but immediately found out that Brennan's boyfriend was dead, so the gays were prematurely buried. Kat has a new boyfriend, sure, but that doesn't matter. Rhiannon isn't even here most of the fucking time, even though she is supposedly our bi rep. There are 0 side ships, 0 character relationships beside Xaden and Violet that matters. Where are the girl boss friendships? Where's Rhiannon? Again, where is Rhiannon? She's Violet's best friend. She's not getting any closer to Imogen or Kat, really. So where are the girl boss friendships? Where's the found family sibling relationships? They're nowhere to be fucking found. Maybe with Rhydock, who I don't remember anything about except that he's supposed to be the silly one that everybody wants to protect, the little cinnamon roll. The way that time passes in this book is so disorienting. 75% in and suddenly 73 days have passed and Xaden is somehow winning at being a secret Venom because he hasn't given into the evil yet. When did this become a metric? What's with the passage of time? Are we on a timer? Have we always been on a ticking clock until Xaden is fully evil? Is it within 100 days you're going to turn evil? Is it eventually you're going to turn evil? We don't know when, but the chances of you being evil tomorrow are slim but never 0. Is this an evolution thing? Is this what is this? Because I don't see him struggling at all. Once again, it's just his eyes turn a little bit red. You could have just made up a lie, Violet. You could have been like, yeah, he got high before he came in here. We could have had that drug. We could have had actual drugs involved. Xaden smoking their version of marijuana. Be like, oh yeah, my eyes are red because of the weed. Is that because I'm a venom? What are you guys talking about? And there was something that happened around this mark that was very unclear to me, because it made it seem like that they broke up, considering that right before this we had just had a conversation about what bad thing does Xaden have to do before you consider him like fully gone, and Violet's bitch ass is just like, if he doesn't love me anymore. Bitch, shut up. I am begging you to shut up. But then they didn't actually break up, so maybe I was just listening at 3x speed, or they just disagreed about something. But we had literally just had that conversation before that about like, what does he have to do before you consider that he is too evil, he is too far gone. I was actually so tired of Violet's perspective. Hearing Xaden speak, and her internal thoughts are basically, wow, he's so handsome. I love him so much. There's the smirk I love so much. Let's say the word onyx for no goddamn reason. It's giving the scene from the Lego movie. I don't remember which Lego movie. I'm sorry. I just know it from the TikTok. But the blah, 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 proper name, place name, backstory stuff. That's like in Violet's head every time she sees Xaden like talking or speaking any sentence. Like he could be talking about how the sky is blue, and she would be like, oh my God, his onyx eyes sparkle. No, they don't. If his eyes were black, you would not be able to see anything, much less the pupil. If his eyes were truly black, would they sparkle? Does he have glitter in his eyes? He's got mica in his eyes. Let me try to wrap this up very, very quickly, because I gotta be at work in 16 minutes. The ending is absolutely horrendous, because what do you mean that the reveal is just Venom are mirrors of us, same powers, not the same people, but foils of the same people, just with different goals, red eyes, and vocal fry. And once again, I'm tapping the fucking sign. I'm tapping the goddamn sign. I'm pointing back to the things that I said about this being Zionist propaganda, and that the entire goal of the Venom is that they just want more power, because they're quite literally drunk on power in the quantitative sense, but there is little that is discussed about their goals after they get what they want. Why is Basgaiath so special? Why is it just Basgaiath that's so special, that that's their goal? Do they not have a world domination goal? Like, I'm tapping the fucking sign. I understand that Xaden going full Venom was to, again, try to save everybody, but the entire thing about him wiping Violet's memory and then non-consensually marrying her makes very little to no sense. It would make more sense if for the entire book, for the whole, look at me, Xaden, look at me, that this isn't you, for Xaden to be more corrupted than believed the entire time, and for him to be more like a double agent. Again, back to the double agent thing. That would have been actually interesting. But then again, why force Violet to marry him? Is it to force proximity? Is it to give us more sex scenes? That post-marital, that good post-marital? Is it too? Oh my God. Force a pregnancy trope on us? A pregnancy trope that's in book 4 that'll be the ending twist of book 4? Is that Violet is pregnant? Is that going to be what changes Xaden back to normal? Is the power of love and surprise fatherhood? Is that the cure? Is love the cure, guys? Is this going to be like ACOTAR again? Is love the answer to the fucking riddle? I swear. Oh my God, when does the 4th book come out? She released the first 2 so quickly that I really thought that this was going to be like a faster like release schedule. Next book could be late 2026 or 2027. I'm going to say it right here, right now. February 8th, 2025. I'm going to say it right now that the ending twist in book 4 of the 4th Wing series, book titled To Be Announced, that the ending twist is going to be Violet being pregnant. I'm putting that down right here. That is my prediction. That is my prediction. And if I am right, I will scream, because that is exactly seems to be where we're going. First, we're going to marry Violet. We're going to have that good post-marital with our evil husband. And then we're going to probably do some like inside job espionage of like Violet remembering stuff. She's probably going to be like relearning stuff through the journals. Like through all the journals, the book of Brennan, the book of Mira, the book of her dad, whoever the fuck his name is. Maybe she'll find her mother's. Maybe her mother's journal, or maybe her own. There's gonna be like a Vampire Diaries-esque, like she's gonna be relearning everything through reading somehow. That's what's or dreams. That's what's gonna happen too, because of Andarna's power or whatever the fuck. Because Andarna is, oh, by the way, Andarna's gone now. Andarna left and broke their bond so that she could go like learn how to be a real dragon or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. So Andarna is going to, of her own accord, reattach herself back to Violet, or try to reconnect with her through her dreams and like remind her of everything that she's supposed to feel. That's it. I've got it. I've got the whole plot of book 4 in this series laid out for you on a gold fucking platter. Okay, quickly, I have to be at work in like 10 minutes. I should probably be leaving now. Name predictions for the book. Maybe something like Sapphire, where it's gonna be something either blue or it's going to be green because we had fourth wing, iron flame, onyx storm. So it's going to be another stone or a metal. Let's see. Is it going to be, it might be blue. It could be green. It's not going to be yellow or orange, and it's not going to be red. At least if it is, that would be weird. I think it's going to be blue, green, purple. It's going to be purple because somebody has purple eyes. It's going to be something purple. I just know it is. I now have to go clock in 10 minutes. I'm not even dressed. I'm like wearing my jeans and my shoes, but I need to now go rush to work and work a customer service job after I just sat down for a whole hour yelling. You can really tell when I'm at home alone recording a video as opposed to me not being alone because I yell a lot less. My God, that was the worst fucking experience of my life. Thank God it is over. Anyways, that is thankfully all from me. Thank you so much if you got to the end of this video. If you'd like to find me anywhere else, you can find me on Twitter. I talk about reading and World of Warcraft and occasional politics. Remember to drink water and be nice to each other and exude kindness and empathy with everything that you do. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.